Jim Jordan is no longer running to be Speaker of the House. This follows this morning's third failed vote of the full House, and then, just moments ago, a secret ballot of House Republicans behind closed doors. I want to bring in NBC's Ryan Nobles, who is on Capitol Hill, and Elise Jordan, former aide in the George W. Bush White House and an MSNBC political analyst. Well, Ryan, what a day. What happened?
Well, what happened was this morning after Jim Jordan lost the third ballot on the floor of the House of Representatives, he called all the Republicans into a closed-door meeting here in the bowels of the Capitol and asked for a secret ballot, just a straight up or down vote. Do you want me to still be your candidate as Speaker of the House? And through that private ballot, the Republicans in the conference really expressed their feelings. 112 Republicans said, no, we don't want you to continue on as our Speaker nominee, while only 86 said, yes, we want to stick with you. And as a result, Jim Jordan backed out. He said that he would no longer put his name in as a potential Speaker designee for the Republican conference. And they're basically back to square one. The plan now is that all these members have the opportunity, any one member of the conference has the opportunity to submit their name as a potential candidate for Speaker by Sunday night. They plan to hold another candidate forum here in Washington Monday night at 6:30 with the possibility of taking yet another nominee to the House floor as soon as Tuesday morning. But we have to keep in mind when we talk about this, Chris, that even if another candidate emerges, and even if that candidate is successful in winning over the majority of votes inside a closed-door Republican conference, they still have to get 217 votes on the floor. There is still no one that has emerged in that space. We've already heard a few names pop up saying...
Yeah, let me interrupt
go ahead,
you,
Chris. Yep.
because while you were speaking, Kevin Hern from Oklahoma told NBC News his name will be put in. Tell us about him. Tell us about, as you were saying, other possibilities.
Yeah, so Kevin Hern, who actually had floated his name a couple of other opportunities as potentially a candidate for Speaker when he was pitching himself as a consensus candidate. He is a conservative. He would definitely be in line with some of the hard-right members of the party at this point. The other name that's being floated, in fact, he's already confirmed to our Julie Sirkin that he's in the race, and that's Austin Scott. He is the backbencher from Georgia who surprised everyone by putting his name up against Jim Jordan a couple of days ago and was able to collect more than 80 votes. So there's also Jack Bergman, who is a senior member of the caucus, who has pitched himself as a candidate that would only serve up until the end of this particular Congress as kind of a bridge builder, someone to just get them to the next stage of this conversation, not somebody that's interested in the job long term. So those are three names we have right now. There's also a whole host of potential names that could be potentially bandied about over the weekend. These are not people that have officially expressed interest, but just names that people have talked about. Of course, Tom Emmer of Minnesota, who's currently the Republican majority whip. You have the name Jody Arrington, who runs the Budget Committee from Texas. He comes from Texas, which is the largest Republican delegation. He could potentially be a strong candidate. So there are many other names. Mike Johnson of Louisiana, who's also a very well-known conservative and has a lot of support amongst conservatives. His name has been potentially broached as a potential Speaker candidate. So really, at this point, the universe is open. Any of these Republican candidates could emerge, and I expect there's going to be a lot of quiet, closed-door conversations over the weekend amongst these members to see if any one of these names could be the potential person that could get to that 217 magic number.
And is the idea of expanding the power of the Speaker pro tem right now, Patrick McHenry, off the table?
Yeah, that still seems to be a dead-on-arrival proposal, and for a number of reasons, Chris. You know, the conservatives in the party are not in favor of that. They are afraid that if you grant those powers, that they'll end up being indefinite and that they'll never be able to get that control back. So that would require Democrats to be involved in the process, and any sort of deal that you would make with Democrats would then force you to lose more Republican votes. So, and also there is the idea that Patrick McHenry himself may not be interested in doing something like that long term. So for any variety of reasons, it seems like the next step they're going to take is try and find another name to get the job permanently. And that's at least the next effort that they're going to have in trying to bring this whole mess that's now, dragged on for more than 2 weeks to an end at some point.